as a data scientist, if you maintain how you do things, like if you use a particular code, keep that code aside so that you can reference it later. So you need to keep things, because at the end of the year, when you look back, you should know what you did and how you did things.
Hello everyone, my name is Muskan. Welcome back to another episode of hashtag Real Talk with Muskan. So today I have a guest with me, Radhika Agarwal. She is my batchmate, though we haven't interacted that much in our college, but yeah, we are working in the same field now. So Radhika, can you just tell me about yourself in brief about your master's degree, especially?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Muskan, for having me here. This is my first ever YouTube video, so I'm quite excited also. Um, I have done my master's degree from University of Glasgow, Scotland, and I've done that in data science. And if I wanted to tell you more about my subjects that I studied there, they were basically machine learning, deep. These were my core subjects that I'm talking about: machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, information retrieval, big data, cybersecurity. Yeah, more of these are my core subjects.
And what was your
So I
favorite?
did that. Sorry.
What was your favorite subject at that time?
My favorite subject was big data.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Basically, our professor was really good.
Okay, so
And I completed, sorry, yeah, I completed a master's degree like last year only in December. And it was a 1 year course that I did. So it was quite hectic, but it was really good. And I passed with distinction. So
oh,
cherry on the cake.
that's great. Too.
Yeah.
And where do you work right now?
Currently, I'm working in India only at Infoseps as a data scientist.
Okay, and why did you not choose to work in UK?
It's not that I didn't try to didn't try to get jobs in UK. I tried a lot. I sent out my resumes everywhere to every company possible. I also tried to look for data analyst roles if I wasn't getting any data science role. But the problem I think was that, first of all, I was a fresher. I did my master's degree immediately after I completed my bachelor's degree. That might be a problem. I have never been told that this might be your problem or this is why you're not being chosen. It is equally black box there as well. The whole recruitment process as it is there in India. You never get to know why you are not being chosen.
Okay.
It's difficult to understand. So my another point would be, first I told you I was a fresher. Second, the whole I would also require visa sponsorship, and third would be that the whole I had only 6 months of work visa. Now that it is for 2 years, but I think 6 months is really less for somebody to find a job there, and especially for a fresher. So I think maybe because of these reasons, I could not get a job there. So I decided to work in India.
Okay, like you saying that a candidate should have a little experience. If they have a little experience, then it will be easy to get a job in UK as well or anywhere.
Yeah, I think yes, I think you would be more credible in that case.
Okay.
I'm not sure. This is what I think might be the issues for me to not land a job there.
Okay, okay. How long or is it difficult to get a job in India after coming back here and you have to search here as well and you have to work hard here. So how did you get this job as a data scientist in India? Can you please advise our students?
Okay. This basically depends people by people. I wouldn't say that it is easy or difficult. I would just say it is difficult if you portray yourself as a person who's interested. I will come back to what I'm saying,
Right.
and it will be. I'll not say it will be easy, but it will be less difficult if you portray yourself to the recruiters or people who are hiring as interested and also capable. So what I mean here is, if you haven't done a master's degree and you come from a different background, I mean not from a computer science or an IT background, so and you want to get into a data science field, so what you will do is you'll go to Udemy, you'll go to LinkedIn Learning or Coursera or EDX, and you will try to do different certifications. That will be good. You'll get the certificates. But how will the recruiters know that you are capable enough? This will show that you're interested in the field and you want to do it. But how will they know that you're capable enough? For you to prove that your capabilities, you will have to go on to different hackathons and try challenges there, try different projects, and try to take competitions. Like if you there are different, every week there are hackathons going on HackerRank or Hacker. You should also go on to Kaggle and try out different challenges. And over the period of time, as you go on to do these challenges, you will also, there'll be a point, definitely, if you try, you'll also be able to get a chance to stand out. So that is where you will be able to tell yourself that, tell the recruiter that you're interested and also you're capable to be in this field, right? So they should have enough trust and enough information so that they can understand that you are the right person.
Okay, so in short, it is just completion of certification is not the only thing to get a job.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
participate in different competitions and you need a practical knowledge, right?
Exactly. Yes. They try different projects
Yeah, you have.
and also maintain a Git profile there so
Yeah.
that you have things to show up when they ask you.
Okay, and in your Git profile, what are the things you have added?
All my projects that I've done, even if I practice out projects, what I do is I randomly take up a use case or any database of the machine learning use cases. I pick up randomly, try to solve them. I have also taken up many hackathons. Even if the hackathon is not live or going on at the moment, there are still databases available and the problem statement available. So I just go on and try them. And whatever I try, whatever solution I have, I put it on my Git profile, or and some of my the projects that I did in my master's degree are also up there.
Okay, and from where you get the data sets and what like the sources?
Oh, there are a lot of websites. If you want, I can send you the links also. You can add them in your description box, however it works. So there are a lot of websites, and I know I can't name them at the moment, but I'll send you the links.
So, what projects are you currently working on? Like, not exactly I want to know the project, but what are the things you do in your day-to-day activities or the tasks?
Oh, for my company organization, yeah. So as I told you, I'm working at Infosys. I really can't tell you about the client I'm working with. I'm not sure if I am allowed to tell the name. So I would just say that it is a global retailer of luxury brands. That's the client I'm working with currently. So there, my job is basically to do customer segmentation and customer profiling, and all of our data is hosted on Snowflake, and from there, in easy language, if I tell you, from there I take it to SageMaker and run all my models. I basically use machine learning, deep learning, and NLP to do all my stuff. And after the modeling is done, the whole reporting process is done on either MicroStrategy or Power BI.
Okay. So you don't generally use Python or R, right? Or
No. All my models are built in Python. Everything is done. I only use Lantis SQL for all my pre-processing to get the data from Snowflake and the whole restructuring of the data. That is done in SQL, and then the modeling and feature engineering is done in Python.
I saw on LinkedIn you have posted that you won a prize in Intercept about data storytelling, right? So what is it all
Yeah.
about, and like how to become a good storyteller? Can you just explain me about it?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. So yeah, it was a competition of 4, and there are like monthly hackathons going on at our organization. So that this was one of the competitions where we had to decide on a use case, and then build on the whole story of to find out and give insights to the stakeholders, and they might, in the end, of the winners, they might use the whole database and then try to build that own solution. So we had to come up with unique use cases and then do the whole storytelling for that use case, one particular use case.
Okay, and what is the process which you have followed for creating a good story from the data?
Okay. So for storytelling, first thing that you need to keep in mind is that for storytelling, you basically use data visualization tools. It might be Power BI, Tableau, or MicroStrategy, whatever. So your dashboard or dossier that you create, is the face of the data, is the face of your entire efforts that you put in, right? That is what is the end product, and that is where the business is going to use that is and take insights from and put something into action. That is the whole set that you'll show. That is everything that you'll show. So you have to make sure that you have a cause and effect relationship throughout your story. It shouldn't be that, like that you put in some series of events that happen in your data and you just dump it on your dashboard. So it should be like connected. If you're telling that a particular store is closed and that there was no sales, so you should not let give any point or open loopholes for your business or the stakeholder whom you're showing the presentation. You should not give him or her any opportunity to ask you so what, why, how, when. All these questions should be covered in your story. So it should be like linked, and the listener should be able to comprehend the whole story in a way that it is easier for him to use it in future, because that is the whole point, right? The insight should be actionable. They should be he or she should be able to use it. So if you're saying that a store is closed, and so the first question comes is, why was the store closed? So you should go take a step back, think what would be the reason that the store was closed and the sales did not happen in that store.
Right.
So you can go back and just add one line chart, suppose, and say because of COVID there was lesser footfall in particular region, so you could show a line graph showing how the footfall was decreasing, and that might be the reason which led to the closing of the store. So something like that. This is just one example that came to my mind, that was just off the top of my head. So that is how you go on to connect each and every graph or any pattern that you're trying to show on the dashboard. It should be connected, and how, when, where, what led to that decision. So it should be easy for them to understand, and they should also be able to trust you on that. So we need to show how confident we are with our results, and for that we can also show the performance matrix like accuracy, precision, recall, whatever. So they can put confidence in us and use the result with 100% surety.
Okay, so it means that we have to cover all the aspects and all the type of questions, and we have to explain them by using non-technical terms, not just using the technical terms, and we have to think like that only.
Yeah, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the business person, and then think, why are we doing what we are doing in the first place? Also answer all the WH questions that I told you: what, where, when, how, which, everything. And then also make it a point to not clutter the whole dashboard. It should be as simple as possible, with simple like bar graph, line graph. Even though they're simple, but they're effective, right? So you need to make sure that your color schemes and everything you use, and the fonts you're using, font style, everything is visible, legible, and easy to understand. That is the whole crux of how to build a dashboard.
Okay, and from where you get the data set for creating the dashboard?
So all our data sets, basically we go on to Kaggle or any UCL website and then get, most of the data sets that are easy to use are available there. And if some of the KPIs that then you can build on top of them according to your use case and your need.
Okay, so it means that whatever the in the competitions are participated, you have to choose a data set and you have to create your own story, right? There is no data set which is provided by the your company or जिसने भी वो competition held किया होगा, right?
Yeah. So, but the hackathons that are available online, like on Hacker Earth, HackerNine, all of they provide you with the data set. They provide you with the problem statement. So it wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be difficult for you to like go on and do the challenge. Yeah. So I would request everybody and motivate everybody to like go on, take up challenges, because practical knowledge and hands-on experience is the key to become a data scientist.
Okay. How is it like to work as a data scientist?
That is an excellent question here. Working as a data scientist is equally exciting and equally tiring. So if I talk about like the initial phase of coming into a a project or something like that, when you have to understand the whole, that is fine. But when it comes to data wrangling or data preparation or data cleaning, that can become really tiring, because the whole process of data wrangling is quite intuitive. So you have to develop yourself as a thinker and try to understand what is the reason, what could be the because it is difficult to get ground truth every time, right? So you don't know where you're heading, what will a particular change in the data you're making will lead to. So it is quite intuitive, the whole process. So it gets difficult to like repeatedly look at the numbers and then try to find out first what was the problem, how to solve it. So that process can get a bit tricky there. Otherwise, if you think how much power a data scientist has, I mean, you're able to predict the future and with a lot of confidence. And then in the end, when you see that the prediction you made was correct or more or less correct, then that gives you immense happiness. So that is one point that I would say I live for, and that is why I'm here in this profession, because you have a lot of power, and the whole process and the end results really makes you happy.
Okay, and obviously, as per your profile, you will be having a lot of responsibilities.
Correct, exactly. I do have. I mean, I have to make sure that whatever I do is with with respect and with full truthfulness, because the business in the end is going to consume what I give them, and I cannot give them garbage data or any false data, because everything is crucial. Even one decision they make can cause them a lot. So that comes with a lot of responsibility, because I cannot make mistakes.
Okay. So, okay, I will wrap up this interview. And one last question, not question, but just that, what are your advice will you give to the upcoming data scientists or the aspiring students who wants to, build their career in this data science field?
My There are few points that are coming to my hand that I would like to give them, because this is because I'm almost completing a year, and this was my first ever job as a data scientist also, or otherwise. So I have a lot of points and lot of learning that I've learned throughout the course of this 1 year. So first point I would say is that the mistake I made, like through the first months of my job, was I was trying to define my boundaries. Like this is what I do, this is what will help me, and I was trying to do that. I mean, leave that job to your logistic regression model. That is not your job.
Yeah.
Don't define the boundaries. As a data scientist, you will have to do everything. You will have to clean the data. It is not just the job of a data engineer. You will have to do the modeling. You will have to do the reporting. That is not just the job of a business analyst. So don't spend your energy there. Second point would be the very important point which I was lacking initially, and it was very difficult for me to. I mean, I've made mistakes like that. So second point would be to maintain versions of whatever you're making. Version control is the most important thing when you try to build on a use case or do any modeling. So if you want to go back to something that you did, it is very difficult if you don't keep a version control, because you will get lost in the end when the one project takes around 5 to 6 months. Like how will you remember what you did 6 months before? And if you want to go back to that, you should always have maintain all your data, all your folders properly, organize them, organization, and you should know where your things are kept, because you can't waste time, because everything here in data science is so quick. So you're always at the edge of your seat, because nobody has time. If you have to if a promotion is going on just for a week, and you have just 1 week's data, and you have to every day look at what is happening, how the promotion is going, if it's not going well. So everything is so quick. You have to be at it throughout the whole process. So organization is the first step, and you should keep in mind before you start, because after you start and doing it, it's difficult to go back. So right from the start, make it a habit to maintain everything in proper folders, version control everything. Not just like 1, 2, 3, 4. The naming, the nomenclature of each file is also very important, and that is an art. That is the best practice you need to follow. So this is the second thing. And the third thing would be to maintain a log of whatever you do, log of everyday things you do. Because in the end, when you're asked, of course you'll be working for someone. If it is directly for the manager, or you're talking directly to the client, at the end of 1 month they would want to know what I did, how I did things. So you should maintain a log, and that should be, and I would request, not request, it would be, in my opinion, you should maintain a soft copy of that. Hard copies is maintaining hard copies not the right thing to do, because in soft copies, the fact that you can control it makes the whole difference, right? So maintaining a soft copy, I mean, if you have a habit, if you think hard copy is easier, but trust me, over the long period of time, knowing that the soft copy is so portable, you can take it everywhere, anytime, and access it from anywhere. That makes the whole difference, and it is really good as a data scientist if you maintain how you do things. Like if you use a particular code, keep that code aside so that you can reference it later. So you need to keep things, because at the end of the year, when you look back, you should know what you did and how you did things, and that is more important if you can do that. And the first thing that I would like to mention is the whole process of data science is ever evolving, right? You should keep augmenting your knowledge and keep on learning every new thing. As I said, don't define your boundaries that I'll only work in retail domain and only with the classification model. It's not like that. You will have to do everything, and every day new APIs are being built. So you should have a habit to read all the articles and keep on trying new projects, trying new use cases. If you have free time, read new things. That is really important to keep yourself updated, and you need to understand how thing works and go back to basics, because learn the basics first and then go on to try to implement them. So that will help you. And always one thing, remember, you should always take a step back before starting anything and understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's important to understand from business perspective what you can do, what you have, what you need, what is the help you need. And this also brings me to a point that you should always have similar minded, like-minded people close to you, and you should try to weave a closely knit connection of people who are in the same field as you, and try to converse with them. What are they doing? What are we doing? How can we do things differently? How will this help me? So you should keep on having such conversations with like-minded people and augment your knowledge with new techniques and technologies, and that will help you really in your whole course of becoming a data scientist.
Okay. I still remember I have done that one mistake. You told that point now that you should make the versions of whatever the things you are doing. And in the starting of my the project, I haven't maintained the version, and in the end, I lost everything. I was
It
lost.
happened with me as well. In fact, it was just 3 days back. I was so frustrated because I couldn't understand you. I mean, this was only with this project. I had my final file named as final document. I was, what is this? It was I have to count the number of finals, so to find out which is the final one. You should not do that. Do the versioning properly. Version 1 of something, version 2, version 3. That will really help you. This is from my personal mistakes that I've made and noted that I will not make them again.
Okay.
So and nobody is going to tell you about this in an organization. It is you yourself who have to find out. And if somebody somebody like us who's helping you, you should also make a point to note it, because it is really helpful.
Okay, that's about it. And thank you so much for coming into my channel and having discussion over data scientists, about everything, what you do, and it was really nice talking to you.
It was same here, Muskan. We should do this more often if you think it was good. Yeah.